So it's no more than a land grab. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's no more than a land grab, a land push into Mariupol, Donetsk, and that's all. That's why you can't trust Putin, really.
Mm. And that was something that you were willing to, lay your life down for.
Absolutely. I mean, while I was there, the narrative changed all the time. So when I was captured, it was you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi. So I'm not Nazi. We're not Nazis. And then it changed to terrorist. Suddenly I was a terrorist. And then by the end of it, I was a Nazi terrorist mercenary. It just kept stacking up. And I just kept saying, how can I be all these things? It's just crazy. You've got no proof. And we weren't allowed to give our side of it. Argument. They said they'd appointed us an attorney. Well, she didn't even see me once we went out to Mariupol, but she worked with a prosecutor. She was part of the system. So we weren't actually allowed to get our contracts and our information to be able to defend ourselves. So that's when I knew it was just a sham trial. And Brahim, the Moroccan, was probably the strongest of us all. He was 100% sure that, we weren't going to be shot from the minute we were captured to the minute to the end. And he's like 5 foot and he's a big fighter, he didn't stop talking all the way through. And you need people like that. And he was just staunch, no, not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen, all the way through. But yeah, it's easier looking back on it, I guess, and thinking nothing's going to happen. But we weren't really sure at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I'd say, 60, 70% sure that we weren't going to be shot, but you just didn't know.
And how did it feel? How did it feel when that sentence was passed to you that you'll be facing the death penalty? How did you feel when that was said? Because even if you're 60% sure, you got to be thinking, oh, fucking hell.
Well, yeah. To be honest, at the time, I thought, I hope there's an appeal process, was what I was thinking. There's got to be an appeal process. So going through the court, there's got to be an appeal process. It was only when we got back to the cell, maybe 2 or 3 days later, that it just sort of sunk in. Just watched my own death sentence. And I mean, I've never done anything wrong with the law. But if you're going to get your first conviction, I couldn't think better than 24 years and 2 death sentences,
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there going, I can't believe it. I've never been in court before. I've never done anything. How could we end up with a death sentence, not to mention plus a life sentence as well on top of it? How on earth does that happen? We were in the Ukrainian army. And it was about 2 or 3 days later where it sort of really could come to a sort of low point for a bit, thinking, we're never going to get out of here. We're never going to get out of here. And at that point, you need your friends, you need the guys around you to sort of pick you up a bit and sort of have a reality check. And for me, Brahim and Dylan were the ones that were giving me sort of the reality check. I could bounce off them and the Swedish guy as well. I tell you, they were really good guys to sort of bounce off. And I could talk to them and sort of get a reality check. We discussed things most nights. We had an hour walk every day. But we used it as like a meeting point where we discuss the events. Anyone got any new news? We're all in like different paddocks. So basically we would not be seeing each other. We'd stay in the confines of who's in the cell. But we're over the wall. We'd hear the next cell come in, and it'll be the Americans or the Brahim and the Swede that were living together. And then we'd just have a big what we called an O group, a meeting every night, and try and formulate a plan for the next guys about delaying the court process, maybe giving the guys like me, Brahim and Aiden, more chance to live and more time for Ukraine to make the exchange. So we sat up most nights looking through the codes of Donetsk that they'd given us, trying to work out a way we could get the courts delayed. And once we'd got a plan, I believe the Croatian, John Harding, Dylan, and went to the courts and actually got a month and a half recess on the courts from the plan. So we were fighting from inside the cell, but I had to fight a different way. So really, if the attitude was, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down fighting, and then whoever makes it out is going to tell the story. And that was our mantra. Dylan and Andy probably weren't going to get the death sentence, but they were waiting for their verdict at the end of it. But we'd got a month recess. So when we were freed, they don't know what verdict they would have got. We pretty much assumed that Dylan and the NGO and Andy were okay. They wanted to send Andy back to on an exchange to show his arm and look at what we've done for your guys. We fixed them. But generally, if we didn't make it out, they were going to tell the story. So we had to sit there every day saying, look, it could get darker. It could get really, really dark. How? We're explaining them, if anything happens to us, you've got to take the story out. And that's how we worked every day. So we had sort of blip days, but really it didn't linger because we were then fighting from inside the prison, trying to work out the next move, how we could sort of delay these processes to give Ukraine more time. But and the backdrop was that Ukraine were actually coming closer to the prison. So they were actually bombing the prison sometimes. And in 3 months, we really noticed them come quite